Welcome, everybody, to a very special episode of the Variant Heat Check. Normally, I come up with this list and give it to the SNS boys for them to do on Saturday Night Special, but unfortunately, Matt and Kyle can't make the show tonight, so I decided to fill the slot with this little recorded segment, just so you guys still have something that you could watch on your Saturday night. So it's still going to have the same information that I usually provide in not only the article over on comicbookinvest.com, but also, the sales information that I provide the boys when I give them this, variant heat check. Hopefully you enjoy this short little video and all the other content we have here on the channel. Make sure that you let us know what you think in the comments down below. You like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this channel. And make sure you check out the link for Whatnot if you haven't given the Whatnot app a try yet. It's free $15 if you use the link below. $15 on me. Buy whatever you want from whomever you want. It doesn't matter. It's a free $15 if you sign up and give it a try down below. You will not only help out the channel, but you also pique my interest in what you actually bought. So make sure you message me with what you picked up with that free money. That all said, if you want to see the books that I'm taking a look at this week as far as Variant Heat goes, just hang up for a few seconds after the intro and I will be right back.
Only on Rennavision.
All right, so we are going to go through basically the same categories that I do every week for these variants, whether they be a mild, medium, hot, fire, or at the nuclear level, depending on the level of heat these variants have currently on the market. First off, we start off with the lower end ratios. So we are going to go with a 1 in 10. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 18, a 1 in 10 incentive variant. This is the Nirvana, album cover homage, which is very popular and has been expensive for a good while. That said, a CGC 9.8 sold for $500 this week, just a couple of days ago. Now, may not seem like a lot, and also it looks like it sold for $600, but if you actually dig into it, you will see the accepted price was actually $500 based off. Probably they made an offer outside of the norm where the seller can send you an offer directly at a little bit of a discount. That's probably what happened here. Normally, raws can sell for anywhere from $100 to $200. So $500 for a 9.8 isn't too bad, which is why at an all-time high for a 9.8, I'm giving this the fire grade. Why isn't it nuclear? Well, it's only at the fire grade because when you compare it to some of the other sales, it has gotten higher before, just not quite this high. So we're going to take that ride that many of these variants have done and take a look at it and say, well, yes, this is a very impressive sale considering the last one back in January of 2023. So that was over a year ago, was only $306. It's still, not astronomical amount higher than normal. So that's why it's on fire, but I wouldn't say it is quite nuclear yet. We look at the last graded sales of all different grades. Yes, the $500 sale right there on April 29th, back in September, a 9.6 sold for like $220. Another 9.8, a 9.6 only sold for like $100 back in August. So yes, this is quite a jump. But again, there was a time when some of these signature series books were getting, a few $100s, as well as you can see the 9.8s before were, in that $300-400 range just a couple years ago. So it's been up before. It's just reached this new little high water mark now at $500. That said, if you wanted to buy one now, there are a few on the market, not a ton. And if they get what they're asking for, that would be a new all-time high because there's a 9.8 out there looking for $1,800. And then, yes, there's a couple of raws. One from my comic shop that's listed only as a VF at $7.5, looking for $150. And then another raw looking for $300. So it is not a cheap book, and it is one that is doing pretty well for itself. And we know Turtles just wrapped up. We'll be getting a new reboot of the Turtles soon from Jason Aaron. We'll see if that continues to renew interest in some of these older Turtle books here at IDW. But again, fun cover. It's a 1 in 10, so it's not impossible that there are copies out there. They're just going to be tough to find. So, gets to looking, gets to digging, and if you have one, congrats. All right, with that said, our next book is another variant, obviously, because it is the variant heat check after all. This is a 1 in 25 for Witchblade. I believe I've covered this before, even on Chasing Ghosts, because this is not an easy book to find either. It is a Campbell variant. This is for issue 150. CGC 9.8 looks to have sold for $1,400, but it actually only sold for $990, which puts it more in that mild category for right now. So it's not that impressive of a sale. $1,400 looks impressive, but then when we see what's actually accepted, it's not quite as hot as one might expect. Raw copies still right around that $400 or $500 kind of mark, because again, this is not an easy book to find, even though there's a 1 in 25 incentive and not something crazy like a 1 in 100 or anything. This is still a an image book, and Witchblade wasn't the most popular book in Image's lineup at the time of issue 150. Milestone issue, sure, but still, it wasn't anywhere near like the highest levels of that like a Marvel book would have. So 1 in 25 still very tough. Why is that $990 not that impressive? Well, if you look at the chart here from Go Collect, and you can see if it indeed did sell for $1,400, it would appear to be a new all-time high. But it didn't, because again, I showed you, I looked into it, it's only $990, which is actually just a hair under the last 9.8 sale of $1,000, granted, all the way back in June of 2022. But that's my point. So since June of 2022 up till now, almost 2 full years, the book is basically the same value, if not just a tiny bit less, $10 less. So we can't really call that hot anymore. I would just say it's pretty mild. It's a jalapeno. That said, it still doesn't come up very often, and $1,000 is still a good chunk of change. So not to discount that in any way, it's just basing this sale off of the previous. We got to be real, right? So with that said, we look at some of the other grades, and also by happenstance, a 9.6 sold this week for almost $800, which that's pretty impressive. Granted, I didn't dig into that one to know if there's an accepted price that was lower than that. I would imagine so, considering $990 gets you a 9.8. You got to imagine it's closer to like $600 for that 9.6, but not sure. Can't say that for certain. And then we look at some other sales over the last couple of months around that, $500 for a 9.6 back in March, and then we got to go all the way back to that 9.8 back in June of 2022. Told you, doesn't come up all that often. So much so that when you look at raws, there's 2 raws out there. Actually, there's no graded copies either available, just these 2 raws that I noticed. But look at the price on these, $1,500 from 2 different sellers. They both want $1,500. That's a good bit of money for a raw 1 in 2025. Just, yes, from 2011, it's a Campbell cover. I get it, but still, it's a lot of money. So with all that said, if it does reach these prices, if these prices do get hit sometime soon, yeah, we'll look at this again and we can say that book is hot. But as I mentioned, for 2022 to now, price is still the same. It's mild. Speaking of which, let's take a look at this Gwenpool book that I noticed that sold this week. This is a 1 in 50. So higher ratio incentive, going to be less copies out there. This is another very tough book. This was a raw copy. Asking price, and it looks like it sold for $400, which would be astounding. That would be a hell of a sale. That would have been a fire sale. But when you look into it, actually, an accepted offer of only $130. That's still a lot of money for a 1 in 50. $130 is still more than double ratio. It's nearly triple, but it's nowhere near $400. Law of averages here. We look at the raw sales recently back in March. A little bit of a nicer copy sold for $160, and then we had this copy that sold for $130. So right around the same ballpark. But still good bit of money. But we're putting this one at medium because of that $160 sale a little over a month ago. And again, that copy was listed as being, nicer than this one, as this one is only listed as on near mint, I guess, where the other one was being called a near mint plus. It's all relative. No, it's opinion based. You take a look at it before you go spend your money as best you can with the pictures available. But it is what it is. This book, like I said, doesn't come up all that often, and we can see here there was only one 9.8 sale. One sale. Granted, there's only 6 in the census at 9.8 to begin with, out of 10 total graded for this book. So again, it's not a heavily graded book either. And that one sale was way back in April of 2022. So a little over 2 years ago. And it sold for $200 in a 9.8. So 130 for a raw today after 2 years seems about right, which is why it's medium. It's not hot. It's not really cold or mild. It seems about what I might expect. We look at some other information, just some other data to put some data points around this. Graded copies sold. Only two graded copies I could find in Go Collect system were that $200 9/8 and a yellow label 9/8 that sold for 240 also back in 2022. But signature series, that's a different animal. You're dealing with signatures, who signed it, and all that stuff. So you can't compare that apples to apples. Raw copies, however, yes, we had this $130 sale and that $161 sale at the end of March that I mentioned. Prior to that, there were some sales for $70, $130, 240 here. Oh, that's the signature series. That got the 240. 45 raw. So 45, 130, 70, 160, 130. It's pretty close. Medium. Medium feels right. That said, you want to buy one? I couldn't find any. There's none listed right now. So none on the market, which was kind of surprising. Or not surprising. Like I said, could have done this as a Chasing Ghost book based off of some of this information. But we're doing it here on Variant Heat Check. And that's our last book that we're doing for the Heat Check. That's not our cold book. Because if you've been watching SNS, you know every week, the last few weeks at least, I've been giving an ice cold book. So this week's ice cold variant, surprise or not a surprise, Invincible Iron Man #9. First Riri Williams, first full Riri Williams, however we want to call it. The Horseman of Apocalypse variant. Yeah, this thing was a monster back in the day. Today, not so much. Yes, 9.8, 15 bids, $600 is a good chunk of change. Raw copy still can fetch anywhere from $400 up to $800. Well, I don't know. Some of those sales also are kind of stale. 2022, even August of 2023. You can still get a couple $100 for a raw. But 9.8, $600. Where does that stack with other recent 9.8 sales? Well, look at that bar chart. Looks like Everest. Big old mountain. Huge drop. Huge dip from those pandemic era speculation investors, where this book reached a high, if you can believe it, of $7,500. $7,500 is now $600. Even the last sale back in January was about $1,000. This is only $600. So losing $400, losing another $400 over 3 months ain't great. So this one is icy cold. We look at some of the other graded sales recently. A 9.6 only got $146. That's a 9.6. Only got $146. $7,500 only like a couple years ago. All of a sudden. I don't want to say it's worthless, but it's just like any old other book. Look, another 9.6, 148. 9.2 got $200. Another 9.6, 140. Yeah, just not a good look for this book. Not a good look at all. That said, people who have this book and they have them out on the market, man, they're still hoping. They're still hoping for those high times, those glory days back during the pandemic, because there were some high asks. Granted, I only took a chunk sampling out of the middle that these seemed more reasonable, but there were a couple of people still looking for a couple grand for this book, which, as you can see, $600 at auction. You ain't gonna get $2,000-$3,000 for this anymore. Sorry. I think those days are gone. I doubt we ever get back to those. I could be wrong. Maybe Riri Williams is a huge hit again, but I feel like that cycle is past. We might get more, some slight bumps here or there, but I don't think we'll ever reach those heights again, personally. That said, right now, 9.4 is like $400. 9.8 is looking for about $1,000. Some raws, like I said, looking for like $500, and then some other 9.8s again, $1,000 to $1,100 seems to be the going rate, the asking price. What the market's willing to pay is significantly less than that right now. Why? Well, Riri's not doing anything, not really doing much. We still don't know if we're getting that TV show, that Disney Plus series. We haven't really seen much out of the comics. So without any kind of push, why is anybody going to put money behind this? You know? And with that said, that's all I got for you this week. I think that is our last book, and yeah, that's I guess it's time for us to just go ahead and wrap it up. Um, like I said, short show, but it's supposed to be a short segment on a live show, so I wouldn't expect this to be this long. So 15 minutes seems about right to me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. The boys will be back next Saturday with all of the same humor that you are, expecting on your Saturday night. Sorry, I can't match what they do, but I thought I'd give you a little something to watch tonight anyway. And with that all said, I'll be back with some more content soon. All right, later.